We were talking on the standardized product, and actually one thing I can tell you on this is in University of Utah we had a meeting after a conference with the presenter, and he told us that whenever I'm talking on the perfect competition model in an introductory classroom, always there's a student and ask, can you give me an example of it? And I always give the example of the wheat market. And then someone asks, okay, can you give another example? Well, once when you want to give another example, I mean, there aren't many. He mentioned something else. I mean, um, something else related to United States, some other market related to United States. I don't remember which also fits the conditions of the perfect competition. And then he says, I always think, please, don't let him ask for a third example because he could not think of a third example. So when you are trying to think on a standardized product, market with standardized product, you pretty much run out examples easily. However, to be honest, a market produces perfectly competitive standardized product as much as people care. If people don't care what, well, bread, the qualities or the type of bread they buy, if for them the bread from different bakers is the same, even if there are some differences between sizes, I don't know, shapes, taste, ingredients. If for people that difference is not important, in that case, the market can still be thought as a market with standardized product. So for certain products, maybe for bread, for salt, I don't know, for any market where this difference from the perception of the people doesn't exist, you might still say the market is a standardized product, and to some extent, maybe some markets have this conscious. For example, even when we are talking on an airline travel, of course, traveling with Turkish Airlines and traveling with Delta Airlines from United States to Turkey was different in terms of experience. However, I basically was buying the cheapest tickets. I didn't care whether it was Turkish Airlines or Delta Airlines, even though there is a difference actually. So from my perspective, air travel from the United States and Turkey was a standardized product. And basically, if most of the customers think like me, in that case, that product can be taken as standardized product. So that's a note. Still, I mean, to how many markets this can be applied can be questioned. Probably, again, not many, but at least when we take this assumption aspect into account, maybe we can get more examples. Well, lastly, no buyers and sellers with market power. This basically means this: if buyers and sellers change the amount they buy and sell, and that act varies the price. Well, we know quantity that is sold is increases for a fixed demand. This will decrease the price if you want to sell everything you put to the market. Well, however, it is assumed that a single producer is producing a small enough amount. When they increase their production level at a reasonable level, well, in extreme sense, well, you might say 10%, 20%, a reasonable level, but let's say the very extreme case, doubling the production. If price is not changing, in that case, you can say that the seller doesn't have a market power. Same thing is true for the buyers also. I mean, if a buyer changes the amount he or she buys and the price changes, then that buyer has a market power. So, of course, any buyer, if they increase their production level or the amount they sell million times, probably the price will change. But as I said, we think about reasonable amounts. So this market power issue is actually on which mostly people are concerned with, and the basic imperfection that is studied for the goods markets, goods and services markets, is usually the case when you have a seller with market power. And as I said, I mean, in the United States, this possibility of having producers with sellers with market power was a concern from the 19th century, and that was also true for Europe. This trend of monopolization was one of the things that is studied most by all schools in economics. And in the United States, when actually at the political sphere, there were some laws being enacted to prevent monopolization, keep markets competitive. Also, from the economic side, from the academia side, there was a demand from the academia to measure the market power. I mean, we should understand whether the market is competitive or not. And for that, an index is created, which is called Herfindahl-Hirschman index, I believe, HHI. And the index has this logic. You separate you know how much of a good that is sold. Let's say 5,000 units is sold. If all 5,000 units is sold by one company, in that case, that company has 100% market share. If 50% is sold by one company, in that case, that company will have 50% market share. You first state how much market share each company has. That's the starting point. After that, well, I have opened the Excel. Let's say we have three companies. Company 1, company 2, company 3. And let me get this a little bit larger. For some reason I cannot make this larger. Oh, I have done it. And let's put market shares. Market shares can be at most 100. That's if you sell everything that is sold. And their sum should make 100. Let's say the shares are 50%, 20%, and 30%. When you sum them up, they are. When you sum them up, they are hundreds, and they should be 100. And in order to calculate HHI, you should take every share and you should take square of it. Let me take this in parentheses. Okay. Okay, I am ready. We are done. So this is how you calculate. In this case, the share is 3,800 basically. If you have one large number, for example, you have 90 here and 5 here. When you take the square of this one large number, this HHI will rise a lot. If you divide the numbers more evenly, like 33, 34, 33, in that case, the number will be relatively small. And when you increase, so when the market share is concentrated in one company, even if you have many companies, then HHI is rising. When market share is more evenly distributed between companies, then HHI will fall. When you increase number of companies, of course, for example, especially when this one next company is taking share from all other companies. For example, let's say from each one it has taken 5% of share. And now we also need to add this one. Okay, in this case again, the HHI will fall compared with the case when this case, I mean, when you don't have that company basically. The extreme case is when you have all share in one company with 100. In that case, HHI will be 10,000. You could have, for example, 100 companies, each with 1% share. In that case, I mean, 1/2 is 1. So HHI will be 100, and it can be even lower than 100. So the more companies you have, and the more evenly the share is distributed, the lower will be the HHI. You can make, we have actually calculated this already. This is HHI of different sectors basically. You see actually it is close to 10,000. Actually, it's almost monopoly. But even if you have exact duopoly, HHI is this amount of 5,000, and when you have evenly distributed 3 companies, you have HHI as 3,300. So even 3,000. So you have 3 companies basically. When you have 4 companies, well, a little bit getting closer to perfectly competitive market. That's 2,500. Even there, I mean, you might maybe question whether the market is competitive. So if you take 5,000, for example, duopoly case, legal sector, farming and fishing, personal care and service, community and social service, production, construction and extraction, sales and related, protective services, food preparation, healthcare practitioners, healthcare support, education training, and library. All of these are, well, in United States, monopolies or duopolies basically. Of course, they look to the extent of the market. I mean, if you cannot buy a health service in New York when you are living in Los Angeles, in that case, I mean, you should just look to the you should just take Los Angeles as a market, not whole United States. So when that extent of market, the ability of the buyers to reach different sellers is taken into account. Many sectors are actually well, not that much competitive. Computer and mathematical, it seems to have lowest here HHI index, interestingly.